Right. Thank you everybody for joining us for our third week in the Elevate Mindfully 8-week series. My name is Michaela Robinson. I'll be walking you through this 30-minute workshop on finding your Zen. I work for Elevation Corporate Health and I'm excited to be here today. This topic is very fun for me to discuss. So I really want this to be interactive. Feel free to put comments in the chat box. If I don't get to them right away, I'll leave time at the end of the workshop to address any comments or questions that you may have. You will also receive my contact information in case you want to discuss any of these topics further. But let's dive right in and talk about finding your Zen. So today, our overview of today, what I hope you walk away with is I want you to understand, what does finding your Zen mean? I also want you to discover new and exciting ways to find it and create it, no matter what time of day, where you are, like your situation. Do you have a spare bedroom? Are you at work? Are you working remotely? All of those things we're going to kind of factor in today and talk about what that means in the Zen world. It wouldn't be a true workshop if we didn't uncover some of those roadblocks that might come in the way of discovering your Zen and finding that peace. So we are going to discuss those. And then I'm also going to share with you just some fun stress reducing tips. So again, feel free to chime in during any of this workshop if you have comments or questions. I will ask periodically so you guys don't feel like you're interrupting or anything like that. Moving on to what is finding your Zen. This is a great question, and this is somewhat confusing for many of the clients that I work with. A lot of times we can lump finding your Zen and meditation into one bubble. And I like to do that because meditation and Zen to me mean very similar things. So you can see a definition that I've put up here on this screen. And really, it's bringing that awareness to what is going on around you. And in that moment, truly feeling the sounds, the scents, the sensations, and slowing down is my main point when I'm saying finding your Zen and helping people find their Zen or find a way to meditate. We are all hustling and bustling all throughout the day. As I mentioned, I mean, some of you might be virtually working. You're also helping with the kids' schooling right now. Some of you might be working from home. You just never know what your life is going to look like on a day-to-day basis, especially in the world we're in right now. So finding your Zen is extremely, extremely important. Some of the benefits, and there's so many more benefits, but I kind of kept this high level for finding your Zen, would be reducing your stress. I mean, that's really what helps me take a moment, take a deep breath, slow down from my day, is to try to reduce any kind of stress from my day. Helps regulate blood pressure. So they have done some studies that it does help combat high blood pressure. It's not saying that if you start meditating, well, you don't have to worry about your high blood pressure. It just helps regulate it. So anything we can do naturally to help that, let's try to do it. It also improves attention and comprehension. There have been studies where if individuals, we can say finding your Zen or introduce meditation into their everyday lifestyle, if they do that for 4 days straight, there's been studies to show that you have better attention span and you have a higher level of comprehension during your work day, school day, or whatever you have in front of you. Right now, boosting immunity, that's huge, right? So we need to make sure we're putting a focus on that. And finding your Zen and meditation have a huge, huge benefit in how it boosts your immunity. So nice little factor in there. It also improves your mood. I want you guys to all kind of just take a moment and think. It could be this week, it could have been last week, but sometime recent when you felt really stressed and just frustrated, maybe with things that have happened that day or that week, and you were just frustrated and didn't know really what you were feeling or how to combat it. If you maybe think back to that time, ask yourself, if I would have just sat down, focused on my breathing, or taken a moment, gone outside on a walk if you have that ability due to weather and whatnot, would that have helped that situation? And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about a lot today, is finding Zen is going to be different for everybody, but I can truly say that if you're able to create a space, find some time to just calm down, slow down your everyday activities, it will improve your mood because you're going to have more time to just be in the now and be in the present. And that's what we're looking for. And you can just see the final statement on this slide is meditating or just sitting in silence just for 10 minutes each day is shown to be a jumpstart for some of these benefits that I've listed here. What I want to convey today is my mind races. I'm not a good meditator. I will be 100% honest with you guys on that. So for me, I lean towards finding more of my Zen. I found what works for me, and I'm going to give you some examples of that later on. And that's what I use to meditate. It may not be me sitting in complete silence. It may be me heading down to the beach and going for a walk by the ocean and listening to the sounds, like without music, without headphones in, and just being there, breathing and listening. That could be something. And I will tell you that is a favorite activity of mine to kind of help find my Zen. So we're going to talk about a little bit more options that you guys have, no matter where you are. But before we talk about some activities and options for you guys, I really want you guys to use the chat box for this future, and I want to see how can we start finding our Zen, that slowing down and that finding peace in our day-to-day activities. So I'm asking you these questions. What brings you joy? What makes you happy? What motivates you? And I'd love for you guys to share those. Oh, good. All right. So we have some chat features coming in. Love it. Being outside, creating new handbags, being creative. Love that one, you guys. Cooking. Oh, productivity. I am right there with you. If I don't feel like I had a productive day, I need to take a couple deep breaths. Working out. All of these are wonderful. I love to see this. Friends, being in nature. A lot of the items that you guys are putting in the chat feature right now are exactly what we're going to be focusing on today. And when you find your stress kind of bubbling up, right? We all have a level of stress that we can handle on a day-to-day basis, but then we know it starts to rise and gets higher, right? When you feel it kind of bubbling up, I really want you guys to think of the things that you've been putting in these chat features, your dog, sleep, right? That brings me joy too. Plants, I love that. I am not a really good green thumb gal, but I try. So when they don't die, I am really excited and it does bring me joy. I'm right there with you, Eileen. I love all the feedback that you guys are sharing, and really think of those. It's almost kind of like positive affirmations you can think of, but remind yourself of these things, because sometimes we get so worked up and so stressed that we don't know how to kind of bring that stress level down and kind of come back to a sense of like balance, right? That's ultimately what we're trying to create. So again, great ideas there. So as I mentioned, we got to keep it real, and let's talk about what stops you from finding that inner peace and our Zen, because you know what happens, right? Some of these that I've listed on this screen, I mean, this is just a handful. Let's be real. I mean, stress, anxiety, family, friends, just daily frustrations, working from home space, time, all of these things can get in the way of you guys finding your Zen and feeling good about where you are in your space. I'm going to share just a little story with you guys. When we kind of morphed into this virtual world and I was home more, I was kind of shocked. I was like, well, I'm just going to sit alone in this room and it's going to be virtual all the time. And I just, you know, my desk that I was using was kind of makeshift. I had papers everywhere. I just didn't really feel organized, and I just kind of felt flustered and frustrated sometimes. So I really did take a moment and clean this spare room that I'm in. Thank goodness that I have that space. So I am grateful for that. But I had to like clean and declutter and make sure my space felt good for me to walk into another room in my house and work for that day. That helped me combat my stress, anxiety of starting work the next day, and just feel good about where I'm at. So really looking at what is holding you back. And if you guys have any other items that you're like, oh my gosh, this gets in my way all the time, you can feel free to put them in the chat box. But ultimately, they all kind of stem from the ones that I've listed on this page that you're looking at. What I want you guys to think of when you're finding your peace in Zen, though family and friends can be a roadblock, they can also aid in us finding our Zen at the same time. So it's really on how the setup is and how you look at things. I feel a lot of joy when I'm able to see my friends, even more so now because I haven't seen so many of them in months and months, right? So that brings me true joy, right? So look at it both ways. It doesn't always have to be a roadblock for us. Great, love it. We have a comment in the comment box that's saying multitasking between work and home and kids and school all at the same time is really challenging. So think of things that you can do to kind of aid in your multitasking, right? Because right now you don't really have a true choice. You have to multitask between those. So what are little things you can do, little tweaks or changes that you can do each week to set yourself up for success? Is it having a big schedule on the board in front of you wherever you're working? Is it putting reminders in your phone to take a breather for you because you're putting all the focus on everybody else? I know some of those things are easier said than done, but I will tell you, I mean, you can see pictures behind me, and I'm purposely standing today so you guys could have a good view of those, but those things bring me joy. My family they're in the pictures behind us. That big picture, that's from New Zealand. I love New Zealand, and that brings me joy. So sometimes just seeing that in the background when I'm on a Zoom call, I'm like, oh gosh, that was such a good time. I have plants on my desk. I have pictures of families behind my computer that I can always look to when I'm trying to be creative or I'm stuck in the middle of a multitasking project and just feeling stressed. So look around you and see what you have that brings you that joy that you can kind of bring together and create your space. And those are some of the ideas that we're going to talk about. If my mouse wants to move, there we go. So really about finding Zen no matter what space or time you have or that you're in. So these are just ideas. I'm not going to say that they work for everybody, but I can tell you that, closing your eyes or taking deep breaths with a mantra saying, you got this, you got this. I have a poster on my wall that says, may all your vibes say, I got this. I look at that before a big presentation or maybe a client that I'm working with and say, I got this. You have to talk yourself up and remind yourself that you do have the confidence and you are capable of doing amazing things. And part of those amazing things is finding your Zen space so that the focus is also on you and not on everybody else 100% of the time. So I can tell you just a couple of my favorites from the sheet that you're looking at here. Not necessarily a countdown to 10, but Marines have been taught this from their training days, but it's almost like a breath and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. I've done this on a plane when we've had bad turbulence and I really just needed to get in a good headspace. I've done this before a meeting. I've done this in LA traffic. Those of you joining us from California, I mean, that dreaded 405 can make you want to pull your hair out. So don't close your eyes on the 405, but maybe take some big deep breaths and exhale and really find that moment where you're present, even though that present moment can be frustrating at times. I like to go on walks, make time for them. That to me is part of me finding my Zen. I schedule them into my calendar and it'll just say walk or outdoor, whatever you want it to say as a reminder. And if you tend to ignore like your calendar on your computer because it's just popping up with all these reminders, put it in your phone. Put a reminder in your phone to get active every couple hours. Those of you who attended Sarah Baker's call 2 weeks ago about movement at your desk, I mean, I chose purposely because of Sarah's workshop to do this lecture standing with you guys. I didn't feel like I needed to be sitting anymore. I've sat through multiple meetings this morning and here I am. I'm going to stand for this whole presentation. So use that as a tool and create that time, create that space, because It is truly going to make a difference in your mood, how you feel each day, how productive you feel. It really does make a difference. I will also share with you before moving on that my morning routine, dang, that means the world to me. And if you feel the same, give me a high five in the chat box, or me too, whatever. Just creating that morning routine is huge. I wake up every morning and I work out. That is what I do. I wake up, I work out, and I'm ready to take on the day. I juice in the mornings, and it's my time. Yeah, sure, maybe it's my time to catch up on the news, drink coffee. Yeah, watch the sunrise with a cup of coffee. That's amazing, right? Go for a walk when everyone else in your neighborhood is sleeping. I love doing that because it's so peaceful. So to me, that is my Zen zone. That is me finding it. It's not necessarily a particular area of my house all the time. It's what works for me. And that morning routine, I can tell you, when I'm on site with my employees and my clients, they can tell when I haven't gotten my workout in. They can tell when my morning routine has kind of been thrown off kilter, right? It just kind of throws you off a little bit. It doesn't mean your whole day is ruined. It just means you might go about your day a little bit different. So key things, I love it. Krista says, morning sets a tone of the day, and I 100% agree with that. Even if you might be a night owl, right? So if you're a night owl and mornings really aren't your thing, what about your night routine? Think of what that does right before you go to bed and how you close out your day. Those are all big factors in truly finding that space and that time to kind of just take a deep breath and really be there with what's going on in the day. So I will also want to share with you some considerations. And I know I've shared with you some examples of the space that I'm currently standing in, but really look at where you're working or where you're, studying, if you're in school, whatever you have going on, where your kids are set up to do their distance learning. Think of these considerations and how much light plays a factor into it. I chose to work where I work because I have this beautiful window and it lets a lot of sunlight in for me. And I love that. I don't like my apartment when it's dark. I love lights on and windows open and doors open. I love to hear the birds. So all of that can be a factor. So if you think of some of the ideas that I've shared with you, light was a huge factor in where I chose to work and where I chose to do this workshop with you guys today. My color palette, my walls are white. I'm in an apartment. I'm not going to paint them. That's fine. But I've chosen to put pictures on the wall to add some more vibrance and different colors in here. But one thing to think about is what colors are soothing, right? There is a method to this madness. And I love and I hate that I'm going to use this example, but those of you in the Midwest, Hardee's, which is, I think, the big brother to Carl's Jr. I could be wrong, but they're related in some way, shape, or form. When you used to walk into a Hardee's back in the day, because I don't even know if they exist anymore, but they were orange and yellow all over in there, if you remember that, if you're from the Midwest. Well, there's a reason behind that, because color is stimulating different neurons in your brain. So orange ultimately shares, it ultimately is telling you, signaling, I'm hungry, I want food, I need to eat, right? And a couple of you, yeah, so Hardee's still exist. And maybe now their color scheme has changed. That was years and years ago, but I just want you to think of what you feel when you see certain colors, like a light blue or a gray. What happens when you see the color red all over a wall? It really just depends, and it's going to affect people differently, but you should kind of think of that if you're remodeling or looking at recreating your space. Just keep it in the back of your head. On the tip sheet that I will tell you some cool colors and some warm colors that you guys can integrate into your everyday life to kind of have that Zen, calming, peaceful vibe wherever you are. Decluttering, this is huge. Again, make sure your space is not cluttered with a lot of things. It's going to make your mind feel cluttered. So clean space, clean mind is the easiest way to figure that one out. Make it your own. How I decorate my workspace and how I decorate my house is not going to be the same as everybody else. And it's sure not going to be the same as my neighbor or whomever. So make it your own. Find those key pieces that really speak to you and make you smile when you walk into the room. If you're working on being a better, plant owner or plant mom or dad, have a plant and look at it every day and you're like, oh my gosh, look at it. I'm not killing it today. That should be exciting, right? So make it your own. Kind of touching on plants, there are certain plants that you can put in your space to help with oxygen, to help feel relaxed. And those are going to be on the tip sheet that I'm going to share with you guys as well. But fragrance, I know, fragrances are huge. I have my diffuser going right now behind me. And I chose to do that. I do that periodically throughout the week, but I thought it'd be fun to have it go while I'm on this workshop with you guys. But fragrances are key. Think of what happens to your body when you walk into a spa and you smell lavender, or maybe it's lemon or orange. Like all those scents stimulate neurons in our body as well. Think of rosemary. They're all kind of worked into a relaxing atmosphere for you. And then, even peppermint. How many of you guys love the smell of peppermint? It wakes you up. It makes you energized. So these are some of the tips I wanted to share with you guys today before I open it up to the floor. For reducing your stress and your anxiety and boosting that productivity. Peppermint is great for boosting your mood, boosting that activity. But then again, come Monday, maybe it's more rosemary because you need to start the week off a little slow and just calm and relaxed and collected. So really kind of picking a scent that speaks to you, but these are some of the common scents that you're going to see in spas or relaxation or Zen rooms that some companies are doing nowadays. You can also look at some of them, the scents and the plants are very, very similar. There's a reason for that. But notice how you feel after you take an Epsom salt bath at the end of the day. And maybe your Epsom salt has some peppermint in there or chamomile or lavender. There are relaxing stimulants, or not stimulants, there are relaxing components to that. And that is really, really nice to treat yourself to. Great tip in the comment box. Yes, lavender essential oils are very dangerous for cats. So please keep that in mind. If you have pets, there are definitely plants that you should not have on the floor or within reach of pets. And that goes the same with some essential oils. So please do your research. If you have questions, I can, help direct you to certain sites to find information on that, but really good FYI in the comment box. And then here are some of the colors that we spoke about with the blue and the violets and gray, yellow. It's a happy color, right? Happy, you think of a smiley face. Typically you see a smiley face as a bright yellow smiley face. So think of what these colors do to you and how you can incorporate that into your life and into your everyday work aspect of things and home. But again, these are just ideas for you. But now I really do want to continue to open it up. I do want to get through your journal questions for the week. So thinking of everything that we've talked about today, I'd love for you guys to just take a moment, and whether you drop this down, share it in the chat, but share and find out, what does your ideal Zen space look like? If you could create the perfect magical space where you could go, just be with yourself, think whatever you want to do, what would that look like? And then I also want you guys to think of, what is one thing you can implement today to find or create a space that brings you peace? Because finding your Zen isn't just about relaxation. It's about finding your peace, learning how to breathe and slow down your brain from all the to-dos and everything you have going on. Think of what thing can you walk away with today in order to do that. And you can jot that down, share it in the chat, or jot it in your journal, wherever you're taking notes. And then next week, our focus is on get moving. So Wednesday, September 30th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be talking about getting moving. And I did just have one final slide that I'll share with you. I love the comments that are coming through. Walk out in the trees, decluttering my desktop right now. Awesome. So I just wanted to share with you what I love. And these are just some of them. I find joy in cooking, in music, hiking, laying down in the grass, looking up towards the clouds and the stars, depending on where you're at. Love it. All of these ideas coming through. And really don't make yourself feel you have to do everything today. Just make one choice and work towards your Zen. So I'll open up the floor. Any questions can come through the chat. Yes, journaling is great. I personally journal quite a bit, but we do have those journaling questions as you're going through these 8 weeks with us on Elevate Mindfully. So each week you're going to get a couple journal tips to journal on and just kind of make you think of everything that we've talked about. So journaling is optional. I'm not going to force anybody to do it, but it is a great way to get it out. Well, I do want to be mindful of everybody's time. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to talk to you guys soon.